The Arewa Consultative Forum have called on the federal government to declare a total war on terrorism and other mechanisms that are actually causing trouble and causing unrest in the country. Good afternoon and welcome to Nigeria Now, where we look at some of the happenings in the country, and we will hope that you can be part of the program. So do well to drop your comment, your views, and your opinions on our Facebook and on YouTube. I'm Sada Elisha, and I will be doing the program alongside Rachel Tanzi. Good afternoon,
Afternoon,
Rachel.
Stella.
All right, we have quite a number we would love to touch, and so we would love to start with what the Ariwa Consultative Forum are saying. They called on the federal government following the suicide bombing that took place in Borno during the weekend at the wedding. And I think this is not the first time we are hearing the Ariwa calling on the government to do something pertaining security. Over and over, we've been hearing a number of groups coming out as well, adding up their voice to that of Nigerians, the fact that, the federal government need to do something. We started the conversation yesterday where we said that the number one responsibility, or one of the tasks that has been given, the duty of the government from every level, federal, state, local government, is to make sure that they protect lives and property. And then we've been saying over and over, I will recall how long it took the National Assembly to categorically state that Boko Haram was a terrorist group. I remember when we kept hearing the talks or the name unknown gunmen, and I said they can't be unknown. They have faces, they have names, they have locations. So we're talking about human beings that have sworn to make sure that Nigerians do not have a life that they can actually say, we want to enjoy life. And while I was looking at this from every forum, we always say the rule of law when it comes to people who are being punished or not. But then I'm looking at it from the point of view that the rule of law also have to do with, accessible and impartial justice, whereby everybody gets to actually have a way of saying, I feel cheated and I need the law to do something about it. But somehow you just can't help but ask the question, it seems the law has been quiet regarding dealing with these perpetrators of evil. Because we've here where stakeholders, experts coming out to say, the government is actually treating this whole crime thing with so much levity, so to say, because they are not treating it the way Nigerians would like them to approach the issue of insecurity. I know that it's one thing for Nigerians to sit back and say the army is not doing this, the police is not doing this. That is what our security agency will feel. But maybe when you're out in the field, you have a better picture. But we've been looking at where groups are coming out to say maybe there is a compromise when it comes to handling this issue of insecurity, because if really the government means business, they are supposed to uproot this thing from its roots. But we've just been seeing them trying to maybe trim the tree of the whole entire issue, where we're talking about Boko Haram, kidnapping, terrorism. No matter the name they are a terrorist group, and we see that the Arewa is calling on the government. I remember during the Buhari's regime, where we saw Buba Galadima always trying to be outspoken, especially making interviews trying to say, the Buhari's regime is not helping. Since Sheikh Hussaini saying the fact that, under the Buhari's regime, there was a lot of insecurity compared to the Tinubu's administration. But Rachel, my own concern is this a time for us to make comparison whether it was during this person's regime or not? Or is it a time for us to come holistically and see what can we do as Nigerians now? Because it's one thing to point the finger on the government, but then just like we always say, when you point the finger, four are coming back to you. What are you doing? I know we've heard where people are coming out to say it's not my responsibility to protect myself because I have elected leaders. But then it goes a long way. Yesterday we're talking about protecting yourself, be very vigilant, because right now with the issue of suicide bomb operations, for you to know who is on your left and who is on your right, you have to be very, very careful. This is where that slogan, when you see something, you say something, should be even more, because we're very nonchalant concerning the issue of insecurity. But I love the approach that the Ariwa Consultative Forum are taking, the fact that, we're talking about a total war without compromise. So that is to say, regardless of the group, the name, regardless of who you are, you need to face the law when it comes to the issue of tackling insecurity in the country.
Well, Sarah, this is definitely not the time for comparison. However, the Tinubu's administration is just a year and a month old. It's too early to compare it to an administration that was 8 years old. And but then we are having the Tinubu's administration welcoming us with suicide bombing. So this is kind of big, that taking a death toll of over 32 people in just one suicide and an attack case. So we can only imagine the more will happen. You know why I don't feel bad saying the what lies ahead? Because it's not some prophecy or wishing the country bad. We can say the same for kidnapping. It's going to happen because nothing has been done about it. We can say the same for Boko Haram. There will keep being attacks because there is nothing that has been done about it so far so good. It just keeps taking new forms, shapes, and sizes, if I might say. And tell it there is nothing the Ariwa Consultative Forum is saying that you and I haven't said here. It's almost like saying what we're already saying, picking it, rephrasing it, and say, we've said hundreds of times here on the show that until the federal government change the narrative of how they refer to and deal with Boko Haram and all the insurgency we are having in this country, it's not going to change. This is a terrorist group. Must you be told to pronounce war? Must you be told to declare war? Must you be told to change your strategies? Must you be told on how to deal with terrorists? Must you be told? Why are you allowing people to come and tell you to negotiate with herdsmen when these are clearly nothing but terrorists? Why are you allowing some civilian to come and tell you what to do concerning terrorism? Negotiate with these people, negotiate with... Why are we taking that approach? And the question is, do the Nigerian government want this to be over? Because my opinion is, if they wanted it over, it could have been over the day it started. But it's thriving for some reason because it's being allowed to thrive. You yourself keep mentioning how you don't think the number, you would say you don't think the numbers of Boko Haram is even up to 1 million. You say they can't even be more than 200,000 and all of that. And is that a number that the government will say they cannot handle? Is that a number that the government can say they cannot do anything about it? They cannot curtail it. What did you do ever since the start, the beginning of Boko Haram, to make sure that they are no longer here? When you kill one head, another one springs up. What do? Do you take yourself 100 steps ahead of them because we build that foundation here that you can't even be 10 steps ahead of them? Do you need a forum to come out and tell you that when it comes to terrorism, it has to be declared as war before you do that? Why are you romancing the issue and just making it look like it's not what it is when everybody can see the obvious? Then you wonder, does the government stand to gain something from being cold, from being diverting the approach from what it should be to another thing regarding terrorism? Because these are the questions that we would love to get answers from, because when you know a group is a terrorist group, you know the approach for terrorism, you know how it should be dealt with. You can't come to people and be promising them justice. No, we talked about this yesterday. You know who did it. What justice are you promising? The dead don't need justice. It's those who are alive that need help, justice, that need promises, that need results, that need assurance that you know what, you will no longer die in the hands of these people. But reverse is the case here. We just see empty promises and certain things coming back again because the real issue is out there and nobody is dealing with it as is expected. So we don't need the Ariwa Forum to come and say anything. The federal government know what they're expected to do. We have told them countless times. We have given them our opinion, our own idea. Nigerians have talked so many times even before now, and nothing is being done about it. But I hope that the Tinubu's administration, in order not to perform poorly or worse than Buhari's administration, will really do something about insecurity in the country and tackle it as it should be. Should tackle terrorism as it should be. That is what we are hoping to see from them.
Very true. Just like you said, we started this whole conversation yesterday, and no matter how many times we tell the government, Rachel, we're in this country together, and we'll never get tired of
We will
stating the
not.
fact that, you know what, we need you to up your game and protect us. Because, Rachel, I cannot come from point A to point B, and I'm afraid what will happen to me in between.
Yeah.
Not only are we talking about the Boko Haram, we're talking about other criminal elements, the likes of kidnappers, the likes of, ritualists, the likes of so many things. We're saying that custom was able to intercept a number of people. This, we saw the number of ammunition that came into
A
the
lot.
country, Rachel, through a container, and then you just can't help but while we are mouth how these people get to be financed to be able to do all of that. We keep saying one of the things is that we need the government to go after who are the people who are sponsoring them. Richard, they need light, they need water, they need food. Who are the people that are providing them with all of these things? There was a time a friend of mine was telling me that some of the IDPs in Borno were complaining that sometimes the Boko Haram even make it to the IDP camps to tell them to charge their lanterns and their food. And I asked, how did they get into the IDP camps? These are people who have been chased from their ancestral ground, and then here they are trying to look for refuge, and they were still having Boko Haram following them all the way there. So a lot needs to be done. I mean, when we're talking about a house cleaning, just like a number of people say, if the Buhari's regime said this is a time for renew hope, but Nigeria seems not to have hope anymore, Rachel.
It feels that
Because you can only have hope when you can see that, hope is on its way. But right now, we're just hanging on to a thread because Nigerians do not know what to wake up to. Are you talking about hunger? It's on the increase. Insecurity is on the increase. Rachel, you can't make it from point A to point B. Your loved ones have to be calling, Rachel, okay, are you at this? Okay. You have to even let them know that I'm at a checkpoint. I won't call you now. Let me, just so that you know, okay, yes. That is how bad things are. But this we know how things were before. And so I'm hoping, just like you said, the federal government do not need the Arewa consultative to tell them, but that will not stop groups from coming after them. You know what? In case you have forgotten why you were elected into office, you gave us a number of promises. Or should we go back to review what you said in your manifesto, so in case you have forgotten? Are we going to talk about our service chiefs that came with so much power and say we are declaring war, and then we're wondering where's the war? Of course, we've been seeing a number of successes coming from the army and all of them, but then we need them to do more. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. We hope that there'll be no compromise, and that whoever is behind it, they should be brought to book, because if they leave them, Rachel, we'll hear more suicide bombing taking place. Now we're seeing preparation for elections and all of that. We've seen INEC listing some of the states that will be having elections from this year, which will be having the Edo state and Ondo state, and then next year Anambra, and then follow up like that. And then they give certain recommendation on how to be able to, more like looking into the electoral processes, making it maybe a more flexible way, because they're stating the fact that they are not responsible for conducting local government elections. And we know we've been saying the fact that there is a need for local government elections. We saw where initially there was more like move to scrap state electoral commissions. And we said we need them because that is the body that has been started with the responsibility. Even though we saw where INEC has been, they were talking to the governors not to interfere in elections. And we're happy hearing that Rivers have set a date. Remember, during looking at the chaos happening there, they were able to set a date for election by October. So in the next 3 months, there should be a local government election in Rivers State. But then looking at some of the things that INEC is giving, and I know that it's not far-fetched from what they said during the town hall meeting, that we had some of the members of the House of Assembly, the former INEC chairman, and many other people adding up their voice to say, you know what, for us to be able to have a smooth electoral process in Nigeria, there are certain things that need to be done. There are certain processes you need to follow. We cannot even want to cast our mind back to what happened in 2023 election. A number of complaints, people say, in fact, INEC are supposed to be standing on the witness box to tell us why they didn't do what they were supposed to do. But that is, by the way, there are certain things, lessons that should be learned, and they promise to give us some of the breakdown of what happened during the 2023 election. But then President was saying that they gave certain recommendations, about 142 of them, of what is needed to be done to be able to have a smooth electoral process. And it's one thing to have these papers, these words in paper, Rachel, but it's another thing for us to see them being followed gradually to be able to have a smooth electoral process. We saw during the election in South Africa, a number of people were comparing our election here and that of the South Africa. But then there are better things we should do. We know the way election is, we know the way politics is in Nigeria, so we should be able to know how to make it smooth without having any interference or any obstacle on the way.
It's a very good thing that INEC have brought up 142 recommendations for improvement for the upcoming elections as the year goes by. And then it's quite unfortunate that we do not have access to what these recommendations are. However, I hope that when these recommendations are out, they target specific issues that we had during the 2023 general election. As minute as it might be, recommendations and improvement concerning certain laws need to be brought out, because these are recommendations that you are going to pass to the National Assembly. It's supposed to be amended and all of that, the constitutional laws and all of that. So when these recommendations are out, I hope it targets or try to fix issues like that of the FCT, what counts and what doesn't count. Where do we stand with the BVN? Where do we start with the BVAS rather? Where do we start with electronic transmission of results?
Whether it's compulsory or not.
Exactly. I stand that INEC needs to apologize up to today, and Yakubu Mahmoud is yet to come out and apologize to Nigerians, because public funds, taxpayers' money cannot be given to you to do something that cost billions, that made the budget for election 2023 to be as high as what it is, and for you to come and stand and say it is not compulsory. Then why was it funded? If it is not important, Sele, why was it funded? So we just wasted our hard-earned Nigerian money? Or is that how bad we do not care about what money is being used for in this country? If it was not necessary, we didn't need it in the first place. It shouldn't be. If it wasn't necessary for this electronic transmission, for it to function or not, then we would have had our elections without it. I hope these things are going to be addressed in this improvement. You are coming out and you are talking about how you don't want state electoral commissions to exist. However, you are saying that you have no right or jurisdiction to carry out local government elections. So automatically you're contradicting yourself, because it means now that the state electoral commission is important. It's very, very much important. It needs to coexist together for when you cannot be there. Secondly, there are complaints of being overburdened. I hope this improvement or this suggestion will target that. What do you need the government to take off from your hand, or what do you need an extension from it? And I wonder, why wasn't this done before 2023 general election, Sele? You are sitting down at INEC, and are you trying to tell me that you do not have a forecast, a prediction of problems that could come out of the election? What have you been doing? There should be foreseeable problems. You had 2019 election. We had these issues. Well, if we're introducing this and that, it means in 2023, this issue might become bigger than it is. Why don't we see that? Most especially if an administration have been able to have 2 terms at the same time. Why don't we see such a review and recommendation before the next biggest election? Because you now know that this administration is not coming out, is new. It comes with a different mindset. It comes with a different morale for the people, for electorate. It comes with a different mindset and all of that. Why don't we see this renew? Then it feels like, because INEC has been backlashed by the public and by every Nigerian. They're like, well, let's do something. Let's come up with some, recommendations so that Nigerians don't think we are sleeping. Okay, it's not just that we need from you, but if we don't see at the end of the day that these recommendations are targeting the problem that was faced during the past election, then we know it's just still a waste of time, and INEC have been sleeping and is just trying to, try to divert the attentions of Nigerians. So we are waiting, I know we are looking for, we want to see what these recommendations are, and if truly it will touch the areas that were of problems to us during the last general
Of course,
election.
Rachel, because this is the hope that every Nigerian is having, that they really, really target all of those areas. There were a number of issues that happened, and just like you said, it's expected that you have a briefing before you go into elections. While election is ongoing, even after the election, you come back and say, okay, what didn't we get right? Rather than waiting for those who were actually observing, external observers that were coming and saying, no, 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 what the UN is saying, that was not what actually happened. The EU, actually, the European Union was saying, it's not actually what happened. The election was smooth. And meanwhile, Nigerians are telling it was not a smooth election at all. Why did you tackle some of these issues, whether we should have pre or post electoral problems? Most of the cases that were in court were pre.
Yeah.
And that was when INEC was supposed to come in. So just like you said, we hope that, just that was why I said it's not far-fetched from what was discussed during the town hall meeting that
Yeah.
held last year, because we saw where Jega came out stating categorically certain things that they need to do. We saw where certain members from the Nationals of Assembly came out to say, you know what, this is what you should have done. And just like you say, especially them complaining that they are overburdened, I hope they will let the government know what they should take off. Whether they want another body to be in charge of registration, then they only conduct elections, fine. Or they will be, register all the voters, and then another body, they should state it clearly, so that we don't have issue where we didn't have the time to review this and these. There was a rush and all of that. I believe Nigerians will not take that come 2027.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep our fingers crossed and see what those recommendations are, and we hope that they will be followed. Because one thing we have a problem is that we are quick to have policies, but to implement them, zero. We hardly do that. So we hope that we will follow that. Well, Rachel, thanks for doing this.
You're
with
welcome,
me.
Sally.
And as well, thank you to our viewers and every other person for making this program a success. We look forward again to doing this tomorrow. Do have a great day ahead.